Bills versus Dolphins, Lions versus Vikings, and all of the Sunday games in the NFL. Andy and Corbin from WagerTalk.com. Welcome to the Road to Millions. Difficult day in props, guys. This is not going to be a very long show. There's not a lot of lines out, and there's not a lot of great opportunities. So we're going to do our best to find some value for everybody. But just don't go crazy on this is not the day to be a high volume props better. So last week, and we're coming off a nice 4% cash. Yesterday, we only just did one play in the couple games. Worked out great. So we're kind of looking at lower volume today. So we'll get into it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Go ahead and hit the like button and leave us a comment. Tell us what your best bet is for today. And thanks to everybody that joined in on our Friday show. That was we took a lot of pride in that show talking about what we expect for 2024, went over what worked in 2023. So getting in the right mindset for this year is really, really important. So as we do, we always just start with some of these lines here real quick. Remind everybody the annual special for golf and auto racing is still available. That's on Andy Lang's profile page, WagerTalk.com. It's discounted to $2.99. Never had a losing season in either of those sports, so it's one of our best specials every year to lock in those plays. And if you're interested in 365 days of all sports, that promo is still good for another day or so. Use the promo code LANG50, LANG50, $1,000 off, 365 days. We had Corbin, we had a stat correction that worked in our favor. We're 91 units for 2023, not
Fantastic.
88. Yeah. So we crossed over the 91 units for 2023, and we're looking forward to 2024. So, all right, let's get into some of these passing props as we do. And by the way, Steve says hi to everybody. He is very sick this morning, so shout out to Steve. He's got a 5% play that's up for the college national championship. So that's over at sportsmemo.com. We are going to do his pay dirt parlay. He sent those over, but hopefully Steve gets better soon.
Yeah.
Corbin, do you have any passing touchdowns?
No, I tend to avoid this market. I'm not a big fan of the.
You hate it. You hate this market.
Yes.
It's a common theme you're going to hear, but I like Nick Mullins over 1.5 passing touchdowns. This Lions pass defense is trash. Other than that, I'm with you. I actually think Jordan Love under 1.5 might be interesting. This Bears defense the last 7 games is no joke, and your Packers team, man, they're banged up.
Yeah.
You harp on it. They really struggle against the run. If this goes in the Bears game script, the Bears could hold the ball 37, 38 minutes with limited.
Yeah.
So that plus money, man, I don't know. Maybe.
What do you think to the Kyler Murray passing touchdowns? Similar theme in that I'm expecting both running backs to have quite a good day. Murray to throw for under 1.5 could be a good look. I know there's a bit of juice attached to it, but we were just saying before the show that we think James Conner is going to have a good day. I'm expecting Kenneth Walker to have a bit of success. Could definitely drain the clock and mean he doesn't have to throw at all. So
this should be a running game for both teams. I'm with you. You could look at both of these guys. Geno Smith under 1.5, Kyler Murray under 1.5. Maybe use James Conner and Kenneth Walker, maybe some anytime touchdowns. So, yeah, I could see a scenario where you could go all in on that game as well.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's talk about some passing yards. We'll start with Buccaneers at Panthers, Vikings at Lions. Corbin, do you like any of these passing props?
I don't officially, not really. Again, we've mentioned it's a tough week. The one that intrigues me the most is the Baker Mayfield one, because I think this sets up for another under. I think the Panthers defense are quite good. I think it's going to be more of a Rashad White running game. But then Baker at the minute, incentives, I'm sure we'll mention them at certain points, but he's going to want to keep throwing the ball. And recently he's had success against even teams like the Saints that have a good passing defense. So it kind of throws that logic out the window. So I won't bet it, but I'm eager to see which way that one goes. So
Bryce Young under. He was so bad last week. He just looks like no confidence whatsoever. And this is a playoff game for the Buccaneers. You know, this is when you're going to get a full effort from the Buccaneers. Yeah, you mentioned the contract incentive. So his contract incentive, he's got to finish in the top 10 in these categories, and I think he's inside most of them. And like one of them is like passer rating or efficiency. So those are not really
Yeah.
stat driven. But yeah, he should be throwing it. I'm with you. I think he could have some success in that one. So this Jared Goff one, I'm really interested in. Goff has not done well against the blitz, and the Vikings and Brian Flores blitzed the most of anybody in the league. However, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about how teams have figured out this Vikings blitzing, and he was the premise was Jared Goff's home road splits are pretty glaring. That Goff
Yeah.
is much better at home, and this is a home game for Lions, and that the film is out on the Vikings, kind of what they do with their blitzes. So he was making the case that Goff probably has a pretty nice game in this one.
You'd think they want to set him up for the playoffs. They don't want to go in there. They don't want to head into the playoffs with him throwing 2 picks and throwing for 170 yards, do they? So
It's true. It's really true. So it's a low number, really, really low number. I mean, this game they played a few weeks ago, what was it like 30-24? It's a really
yeah,
low,
high
really,
scoring.
really low number there. So, Falcons and Saints, Bears and Packers. Do you like anything in these two games?
Again, not. I'm leaning. It's kind of hard to say for the Bears and Packers. I would almost lean both under for the same reason that we just mentioned, that I expect both teams to be running the ball, killing the clock. I'm not sure how much both of those are going to be throwing the ball, particularly Love at 240. What is it, 249? Seems quite high to me. Uh, Heineke's quite low, but then he's playing the Saints. But then I just mentioned that the Buccaneers, Baker had a great passing day last week versus them. So yeah, can't get there with any of them. If I had to lean, it'd be the Jordan Love under 249. So
Yeah, I'll just take the side to bet you. There's only one game that looks like it's going to have weather, and that's going to be the Patriots and the Jets. Looks like it will be a little snowy. So, but other than that, every other game should be pretty good. My one caution with the Bears game is just wait a little bit closer to game time and get clarification on what's going on with the Bears backfield. The
yeah,
props are out for Khalil Herbert, but he popped up with a back injury on Thursday. That wasn't good. Dante Foreman was a healthy scratch last week. I want to see what the Bears' backfield is going to look like. Corbin, I'm with you on Justin Fields under 200. They could run the ball 50 times
yeah,
this game this game with Fields and with Foreman and with Herbert. Just pay Roshan Johnson, depending on who else healthy. So I'm with
yeah.
you in that one. Seahawks, Cardinals, Cowboys, Commanders. I kind of like Dak under on the road. I do not really see much resistance from the Commanders. And the Cowboys just have to win. That's it. There's no making a statement or anything. They just kind of have
Yeah.
to take care of business. Not really sure on the road if Dak needs to throw for 275 yards and 4 touchdowns. They haven't been that great on the road, and I know this is a horrific team that they're playing. I could absolutely see them running the ball. The other reason I could see them running the ball really well, Corbin, and you think I'm joking. So in my big money fantasy football league, Tony Pollard single handedly sunk my team. But this week, in the last week, I could absolutely see 120 yards and 2 touchdowns from Tony Pollard just to cram it up all of our throats. Just Tony Pollard having a monster game when fantasy football is over. I could absolutely see that. So
Yeah.
I'm partially kidding. Anything you like in these two games?
Just going back to the Kyler Murray point, so I thought I'd look it up. So out of the last 4 games he's started, so he had 145 yards versus the Steelers, 211 versus the 49ers. Last 2 weeks he's had 230 and 232. So it's right on the cusp at 228. Again, mentioning both teams we expect to run the ball. I could see him quite easily going under 228 and a half. That's the one that I probably lean out of all of them. So
And then to finish up, Eagles, Giants, Bills, Dolphins. You want to talk about how much we like Tyrod Taylor over 207.5?
yeah, this is probably one of my favorite plays at the minute. So in his 3 starts that I can see for this season, he had 319 passing yards versus the Rams last week, 279 versus the Commanders, 200 versus Buffalo, and 133 against the Eagles. But that was basically only in a half with DeVito playing basically the first half. So by math, you would expect him to get at least another, what is it, 74 yards in the first half. So Eagles passing defense has been all over the place. Eagles as a whole, kind of look all over the place. They look tired. They've got some injuries. So yeah, that's probably my favorite play on the board so far is Tyrod Taylor over 207 passing yards.
The other thing that could happen is the Eagles, they can't do anything if Dallas wins. So there's the potential that Dallas is up big at halftime. And if the
Yeah,
Eagles see that Dallas is up like 21 nothing at half, they probably are yanking starters. So there's a potential you could see a second half with the Eagles doing absolutely nothing. And if you're the Giants, I'm not really sure why you would want to give Saquon Barkley a million carries today in this one. So I'm with you on that one.
exactly.
Bills and Dolphins, anything? I actually kind of like Tua under a little bit. Tyreek Hill with the distractions. Jalen Waddle's not 100%. Mostert's out. I just think this Dolphins team could struggle. I could see under 263.5 for Tua. Not a strong play, but
Yeah.
all right. Receiving props: Buccaneers, Panthers, Vikings at Lions. Any receivers you like in this game?
Again, it's not really. There's nothing that really stands out. Mike Evans is probably the one you have to go to if you're going to play any. Again, mentioned it could be difficult against the Panthers. I did just mention that Baker could either have a field day or he could just kind of go around that 200, 180 kind of mark. Mike Evans at 62.5. He seems to be the wide receiver one by some way. Definitely Baker's main target, but has also been used in the red zone. So I may lean more to a touchdown than his yards for Evans. So
I'll bring up that Justin Jefferson needs 118 yards to get to 1,000. He's done it every year in his career, and if he doesn't get it this year, now he's got to start a new streak, and I'm sure that is something that he really wants to do every year.
yeah.
That would be amazing considering his injury. So they have us at 98 and a half. I could see them. I could see him getting a bunch of targets, even if the game's out of control. I don't know what the Lions are going to do in the secondary, but as we'll get to in the best bet, their secondary is absolute trash. So it's a huge number, but I bet they're going to air it out for Justin Jefferson today for sure. So
Yeah.
Jaguars, Titans, Falcons, Saints. Any of these wide receivers you like?
Evan Ingram's the one that interests me the most. I've been playing his alt receptions at 4 for most of the year. They keep putting it at 4.5, and it keeps hitting just 4 on the dot pretty much. All depends who's at quarterback before I would actually make this into any kind of official play. But I think against the Titans, this is a great matchup. Jags have struggled to run the ball all year with ETN. He just looks slow and the lanes are just not there for him to run in. So I'm expecting whoever's at quarterback is going to have to throw it. And Engram definitely seems like the safety blanket for both. The other play I was looking at is Olave. It's kind of hard as well because Carr's been inconsistent. He has those games where it's like 300 passing yards and then he'll throw for like just 200 or 170. It's like he's kind of a bit all over the place. I do look at their first meeting this year where Carr threw for 304 on the Falcons, and Olave had a 100-plus game. Olave's gone over in 4 of the last 6, but he only had 26 yards and 3 receptions last week. So it kind of, that's what puts me off. I'm not going to make an official play, but they're the two I would look at least in these 2 games. So
All right. I would look at some unders here for the tight ends of the Falcons. Jonnu Smith is at 21.5. Kyle Pitts is at 33.5. And, last week with Taylor Heineke, he had 4 targets, 0 catches for 0 yards. That's Jonnu Smith. And the Saints are pretty decent against tight ends. So I don't know. 4 targets and 0 catches is pretty terrible. You'd like to think indoors they would be a little bit better, but he just doesn't seem to be getting there. And Kyle Pitts is just, he's Kyle Pitts. I don't know what else to say. He's just, what a just what a fall from grace. It's interesting with Kyle Pitts. He had 1 catch last week for 5 yards.
oh god,
With Taylor Heineke. 1 catch, 3 catch, 3 catch. I don't know. So it's just, I don't. Yeah, fade the Falcons tight ends. That's it. Bears, Packers, Seahawks, Cardinals. A lot of banged up. A lot of guys banged up here for the Packers here, but I would like to take unders but I just don't know who I'm taking an under with. I don't know. Can you make any sense of the receiver props in these two games?
Well, for us, we've got two injured wide receivers, Watson and Reed. I feel like I always like to play people coming back from injury, and that Watson number is so low. It's
Yeah.
so low. He could easily get that in just one catch, quite honestly. Kind of all depends on the game script again. If the Packers are down and they're going to be throwing, then that Christian Watson number is going to look incredibly low. If they're both just running the ball, he might not even see the field because he just like passed the first quarter because it's not needed. If I had to pick an under, it's Romeo Dobbs. He's really disappointed me this year. In the red zone, he's had some touchdowns. He's kind of inflated his stats in the red zone, quite honestly. Outside of that, it's all been to Jaden Reed, Wicks, Watson. They just don't seem to trust Dobbs. So if I had to point, that's where I'd go. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Not a whole lot that I can make sense of in these two games. We'll go to
Actually, I will
Cowboy.
say that there's an interesting one in the Cardinals. It's one that I'm going to watch into next year. I'm not playing it, but it's actually Greg Dortch over 36.5, but also his longest. The last couple of weeks, he's seen a lot more targets, a lot more production, but at that number, it's just a bit too high at the minute. I haven't seen enough receptions overall to get to this number if he doesn't catch the big pass, but he's one I'm certainly going to be watching going into next year.
Cowboys, Commanders, and the Eagles and Giants. I'm certainly not going to take an under on CD Lamb, but I don't know. I don't want any overs because I don't know what's going to happen in this one. I think there's a couple we like in the Eagles and Giants, though, right?
Yeah, I have to go back to Wandale Robinson. I've been on him the last couple of weeks. I don't know. They still didn't have their his reception lineup when I last looked. That's why I've been playing more often than not his receptions over his yards. But even his yards at 32.5, it's not a whole whole lot. That's the one that I lean to the most out of all of them. He's definitely been the main target for whoever's at quarterback, it seems, this year. So that's where I would lean.
Bills and Dolphins. I got Tyreek under 93.5. He didn't even get close to this number in the first meeting against Buffalo. And with the injuries that Miami has, I mean, it is literally just double team and do whatever you can to try and take away Tyreek Hill. I, that number is massive, and that is what the Bills are going to be focusing on 100%. Going over the story with Tyreek Hill about how he had the house fire and just what a distraction that is for him this week. This is a must-win for the Bills. I mean, even if some of the things happen earlier in the day and they lock down a playoff spot, if they win, they get the 2 seed. So they're going to be
Yeah.
firing away. So I think this is a really, really good spot to fade Tyreek Hill. Do you like anything in this game?
I was going to ask, what are we doing with Stephon Diggs? So we mentioned it
Oh
last
God.
week. So these are. I was just looking it up. So last week he ended up having 26 yards. Week before 29. Week before that 48. Week before that 24. So again, he's just not getting the ball. He's just not getting the yards. But then I will preface that with I did look, and against the Dolphins he had 120, but that was right at the start of the season when he was still getting all the yards and receptions and targets. So it's an interesting one at 59.5. What do you think?
I'm not taking it over. I think this is a James Cook, Josh Allen running, short passing, Latavius Murray type of game. I that you got lines on both of the tight ends. I just don't think this is a big explosive like
Yeah,
huge Stephon Diggs game. So no, if anything, it's under. If you told me I had to make a bet, it's under. You just got to ride the trend. It's
exactly.
just a complete under. That's where I would go with that one. So
Almost feels like they're basing you to take the over there. Anyone that doesn't know just sees Diggs at like that low total. I bet they play it. So
yeah. Rushing props here. Buccaneers, Panthers, Vikings, Lions. We don't have a line on David Montgomery. That's odd.
yeah, I've
Um,
been looking for that all week, and there just hasn't been one, which is a bit confusing because I don't see anything that's particularly like I don't see like any questionable injury or kind of any situation that's affecting that. So
Yeah.
makes me
Do you like
slightly
any
concerned.
any of those rushing props?
I don't like any of them at their normal totals, quite honestly. I'll mention I've got a Gibbs alt line coming up, but I would also play a Rashad White alt only line. I wouldn't play him at 17.5, but at 40 or 50 as an alt parlay piece, I would consider it. Mention that the Panthers are good versus the pass, but they're not great versus the run. I could easily see in an important game they just want to get the ball into his hands. I think it's more of a running week for Rashad White, so that's the one I would take.
Jaguars, Titans, Falcons, Saints. Hey,
Ugh.
it's Bijan Robinson roulette time.
Yeah.
I don't want any. I don't want anything to do with rushing props in either of these games. What about you?
No, I would consider an ETN under, but then I just looked and he had 102 yards somehow last week. But one of those was a long run of 62 yards. Outside of that, he's had 12, 31, 35, 45. So if I had to lean anywhere, it'd be a Travis Etienne under his rushing.
Bears, Packers, Seahawks, Cardinals. Now we're getting somewhere. If
Yes.
Khalil Herbert is a full go 100%, I love the 61 and a half. He's been tearing it up. Main guy, and this is a Packers team that you can absolutely run on. But like I said, got to wait and just get final word on the injuries. As he said, he had a back injury pop up, so I don't know if I'm 100% confident with playing him anyways because of the Dante Foreman healthy scratch last week. But if I see that he's playing this week, I'm probably off of all of those props. But if Foreman's out and Herbert's 100% go, I love Herbert in this one. And then Seahawks and Cardinals. I like Connor, I think, the most in that game. This is a Seahawks team that's given up 180 yards per game, and Connor's playing with a lot of confidence. We saw him absolutely shred the Eagles' defense. So Khalil Herbert, James Conner in these two games for me. What about you?
Uh, I was going to mention I've got Justin Fields as an alt coming up, but I like him even at 56.5. He has torched the Packers so many times. We can't defend the run. To be honest, I don't really care if Herbert or Foreman plays or who plays. I think Fields is going to get there anyway. I'd be interested to see what his longest rush is. And then I'm on a Kenneth Walker again. Only his alt. I wouldn't play his normal yards. He's had Walker's had 53, 54, and 86 the last 3 weeks. Had 105 versus the Cardinals last time out. We always mention the Cardinals can't defend the run, but I would only play an alt of 40 or 50 for him. So
Looks like Justin Fields 16 and a half longest,
yeah,
Herbert
I
15 and a
like
half.
that.
Connor over 16 and a half. I like that one as well. So got
Yeah,
some explosive got some explosive plays potential against some struggling rush defenses for sure.
yeah.
Cowboys, Commanders,
You mentioned Tony
Eagles.
Pollard. You go.
I would Corbin. I would almost want to bet him on the all line over 100 yards, and I would take him to score a touchdown. I know how this works. I've been here. I've seen it. This is when the fantasy guy that murders your season goes off in the last week. So Tony Pollard over 61 and a half should be a 5% play. Just to spite. No, I'm not going to bet it, but I'm just not going to be surprised if he gets over in the first quarter. Uh,
I'm waiting for that tweet in the first quarter when you're gonna say, "Oh, fantasy owners, here we go."
Tony Pollard fantasy owners. Yep.
Now
So
that you've become famous for your Tony Pollard
my
tweets.
most viral tweet I've ever sent out was a picture of how horrible Tony Pollard is. Isn't that amazing? Of him, you could have driven a boat sideways through that hole getting to the end zone, and somehow he got tackled short.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, nothing really interests me running backs wise in this game. What do you think?
Uh, Out of all of those three games, for me it's Josh Allen. I think he's gonna run the ball. I had him as an alt of 25 as well in a play. I think he it's these games where there's a lot on the line or he's playing a good team. He just goes over this total, it seems, particularly towards the end of the year with so much on the line. I could quite easily see them doing a couple of quarterback runs specifically for him and just trying to he's not going to want to take a sack in a game so important. I could easily just see him scrambling constantly. yeah, quite honestly, I think he's going to have enough volume, enough runs to get there. So
I know what you're saying about Josh Allen. It just kind of feels like he ends up, rushing. I don't know. I don't trust him against Miami. Last year in the playoffs, he only had 20 yards rushing against him. Earlier this year, he had 17 yards rushing. I don't know if Miami does something a little bit different or if it was just game script or whatever, but I'm certainly not taking under on Josh Allen. I'll tell you
they were
that.
hugely up this year, weren't they? Didn't they win by like 28
Oh, they
points or
killed him.
something?
They
Yeah.
killed him. They killed
So
him.
it all depends if you think they're going to keep it close. If that's a one score game, I bet he's running the ball far more. If he's winning by that many scores, yeah, he's
Yeah.
not going to need to run, is he? So
Yeah, they won 48-20 and he only completed 21 passes, but it was for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns and
yeah,
yeah, ran for 17 yards. So big explosive plays in that one. So alrighty, let's get to Corbin. You don't really have a same game parlay because the lines are just not there this
yeah.
week, so it makes it kind of difficult. So let's just talk about some alt lines here. You've got a player prop and you've got a team. So walk us through these.
Yeah, so the first one is Justin Fields to rush for 40 plus alt. Both of these are both alt lines, so when you're looking for them, they're not going to be in the just normal line section. You've got to kind of scroll down. So Fields is over in 7 of his last 8, and the one under was against the Browns, who have a great defense still. He has a point to prove, really. All this talk about the Bears having the first pick. Do they pick Caleb Williams? Do they stick with Fields? Do they trade Fields? Everything is in Fields' favor to have a great game, whether it's to save his job in Chicago or to get a new quarterback starting situation. He's a great runner. He's like Lamar. They've just got so much speed, and they disguise it well as well. Like everyone's like, oh, surely they can watch for Fields running, but like it's so hard because he disguises it so well. Division matchup. The Packers have always owned the Bears. This could be his chance to try and break free of that. The Packers can't defend the run against anyone. I've said it all year long, and he's over in 3 of the last 4 head-to-head matchups with the Packers. And then we're going to parlay that with Jameer Gibbs, 40 plus rushing yards. He just has so much speed. I feel like he's getting more and more work the season goes on. The David Montgomery not having a line is slightly questionable to me. I might just wait and see if something's going on with that whole situation. If there is something wrong with Montgomery and he doesn't play, then even better. But even if Montgomery does go, I think they could look to rest Montgomery here. He's had so much of the workload all year that I think they could get Gibbs far more involved. He's over in 6 straight. He always seems to break off a long couple of runs, which really helps these kind of totals. And he had 80 versus the Vikings just a couple of weeks ago. So we're going to parlay both of those together for minus 116. And then my alt line parlay of the week is the Buccaneers plus 7.5. So I've mentioned the Panthers defense is decent against the pass, but I think Rashad White can have some success on the ground. Their offense sucks completely, so I don't see them putting up enough points to particularly threaten the Buccaneers. The Bucks have won by 3 their last game they played. It was a low scoring 21-18. So the uh, for the Panthers to have enough points to cover 7.5, they're going to have to put up well into the 20s, which I don't see them doing. Bucks have won 4 of their last 5, and the Panthers' only wins this year are both by 2. So I really don't see them blowing the Bucks away here. We're going to take the Patriots plus 7.5. The Pats won against the Jets 15-10 earlier in the year. Potentially Belichick's last game. Interesting to see what goes on with that situation. Patriots are at home. The Jets' offense is just nowhere still. It's just all over the place. I'm not even sure they themselves know what plays they're calling and what they're doing. Pats have covered in 7 of their last 8. The only one they didn't was against the Chiefs. Don't need to explain why the Chiefs can do it and the Jets can't. Bills plus 7.5. We've mentioned they just have to win this game. Whatever kind of situation happens before, they're benefited to win. They won 48-20 earlier this year. The Dolphins are just banged up on both sides of the ball. They just look tired. I think they just want to get into the playoffs. I don't I don't see why they would need to put maximum effort into this game against a Bills team that really, really need this. And the Bills have not lost by 7 or more to anyone this year. I don't see Dolphins' offense as being good enough to cause enough panic for the Bills. And then the final one is the Lions +7. Vikings have lost 5 of their last 6. Lions need this game far more than the Vikings. Lions won 30 to 24 in their meeting a few weeks ago or in the season, and the Lions just have too much on offense for them. Quite honestly, I think this could be high scoring, but I don't see a world in which the Vikings get ahead of by more than a touchdown. So we'll take
Love
all of
it.
those for -115.
There you go. Love it. Let's go over some anytime touchdown scores. Steve sends his love, even though his love is infected with some virus or bacteria, whatever the
we
hell
might not
he's
want
got.
we might not want his love at the minute.
Oh man, it's the season, man. Corbin, everybody is sick over here. Like I said, my wife got sick. It's like the third time she's been sick since I've known her. So it's just a
Crazy.
brutal, brutal winter over here. I haven't gotten sick yet, which I
You've
think
just cursed it now.
that's
You've
just a
just
kiss of
cursed
death.
it.
Yeah, so I'm out on starting on
I guess
Tuesday
I'll
when
be
I
hosting the show next week.
week 18 anytime touchdowns. He likes Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, CeeDee Lamb, and Josh Allen. Yeah, Kenneth Walker, great matchup against the Cardinals. CeeDee Lamb, I mean, how can you possibly argue with CeeDee Lamb at this point? He just scores a
Yeah.
touchdown every single week. And then, yeah, Josh Allen around the goal line.
Yeah,
So
I
if you're
think Josh Allen's definitely my favorite on that list. So
for his paid art parlay, we're going Derrick Henry, CeeDee Lamb, Kenneth Walker at +464. Hopefully, get a really nice cash to close out the regular season. Those are Steve's anytime touchdown scores. Someone had a question in the chat about our percentages and our the percentage of plays with the units. I'll show the chart one more time, but we put it in the play line. So if you're getting our plays, you should see how many units we're wagering on those. So there's the slide if you guys want to keep up on that. And one more time, guys, we got a 5% play that is up in the NFL right now. But if you want to take advantage of full years of plays, just use the promo code LANG50, basically half price on 365 days worth of all sports, coming off a 91 unit year in 2023. So encourage everyone to take advantage of that at WagerTalk.com. And we're doing our annual special, Golf and Auto Racing. It's discounted to $299. Do it every year around this time. Never had a losing season in golf or auto racing. So two sports we're batting 1,000 since joining Wager Talk. So encourage you to take advantage of that. Let's get to our 3 best bets. Corbin, I am going with Nick Mullins over 266.5 passing. This is a Lions defense that has given up 300 yards passing average the last 3 games. 30-24 was the score last time for these teams. So I'm with you that it should be a shootout. And in that game, Nick Mullins did not throw for 200 yards. He did not throw for 300 yards. He threw for 411 yards, 22 of 36, 4 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. Uh, just wild.
yeah,
Yeah,
Jesus.
the game before that he started was against Cincinnati. He threw for 303 yards in that game. And then last week they were like, you know what, Nick? We're going to put in Jaron Hall, and that was one of the worst quarterbacking halves I've seen this year. They put Mullins back in. Even at halftime against your Packers, he comes in 13 to 22 for 113 yards and a touchdown. Just think they're going to air it out. Their running game isn't that great, and you got Justin Jefferson who needs 118 yards to get to 1,000 yards. I think this is a big Nick Mullins day. And don't forget, I've been harping on this all week. Guys like Nick Mullins, they're auditioning for roster spots. They're auditioning for
Exactly.
jobs. They're trying to show off for either their current team or a team that might be looking at him going, we need a backup quarterback. Did you see Mullins? Man, he tore it up in those 3 starts that he had. So, don't think that the Vikings aren't going to come out and, try and put on a really good performance. So, I like Nick Mullins in a game that we both kind of predict to kind of get back to that 50-point mark as it was in the last time.
Yeah.
So,
And you mentioned about Justin Jefferson getting back to his yards. what was it, 100 just for Justin Jefferson, 98 and
98 and a
98.
half.
Yeah, so we said that we like that because of his 1,000 yard season. So definitely leans to us that he's going to air it out. So
Yeah, Steve, we've gone over Kenneth Walker. Steve likes Kenneth Walker over 61 and a half. Cardinals, one of the worst rush defenses in the league. We expect it to be a big ground attack. Quarterback situation for Seattle has not been great, so why not run Kenneth Walker quite a bit? So 61 and a half is Steve's best bet. And Corbin, you're going to stay with the Seahawks. This has been a
yeah,
goodie, man. This has been a great one.
yeah, this has been one of my favorite plays of the year. If I told you that DK Metcalf's longest has hit in 10 of the last 11 games, and the one
Wow.
that he went under was against the 49ers, uh, pretty much just riding the streak. There's nothing too hard to say. He's got the speed, he has the determination. Seahawks, I expect are gonna want to win here. Cardinals defense just kind of sucks all over the place still. We mentioned that they suck on against the rush. I think they still do against the pass as well. It's not like they're one of these teams that's got a good passing defense and a bad rushing. Just keep riding it. DK Metcalf over his longest reception. So
Love it. Love it. So there you go. Nick Mullins over his passing. Kenneth Walker was rushing, and DK Metcalf over his longest reception. All right, guys, that is going to do it for us for this morning on the Road to Millions. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, just remind everybody to just, you don't have to go crazy on these props. It's a very weird week.
yeah,
The book's not putting out lines on a lot of these plays. Tells you everything you kind of need to know
yeah,
about that. So there's been a couple defensive props. If you can find a good prop on Chris Jones to have half a sack, he gets a nice contract bonus. I know the Chiefs have said they're going to put out Travis Kelsey. He only needs like what 15 or 18 yards to get to 1,000. They don't. He doesn't need to play, but they're going to put him out there to get to 1,000 yards.
yeah.
As they like that record. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Good luck on all your plays. Go check out our plays at WagerTalk.com. Got a 5% NFL best bet that is up there. Good luck on your plays, and we will see everyone later on the Road to Millions.
Good luck.